Oy, 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 mamma mia, here we go again. The JFK files are out. I'm going to get into them. There's so much to cover in it, but we also have Jed Wallace who's speaking out against Blake Lively and saying, listen, lady, I didn't run this campaign against you, but here's what I did do. So get ready for it. A lot to break down. And Friday, I'm just warning you now, Friday's episode of the podcast is going to be interesting. So today's Thursday. Let's dive in. You're listening to No Filter with Zack Peter, your go-to source for all the latest pop culture and reality TV tea, served fresh all week long. Now, let's dive in. What's up, guys? Welcome on in. Welcome on in. Welcome on in. I hope you're having a lovely Thursday. Sorry, I'm a little, well, I guess this is our normal. I wanted to start today's show or today's live stream early, and the plan was to start early. And then I was trying to like make sense of all the JFK files and all my brain is like still spinning and I'm trying to comprehend it. And maybe I'll have to do a members only where we dive into it a lot more because some of the info is kind of crazy. I'm going to summarize it as best as I can. There's a lot of information in it. Some of it may be new. Some of it may be kind of just confirming stuff that you already know or ideas that you may have already had. Like I said, I think there will need to be a members only to dive deeper into everything. But I'll go over the general kind of consensus and major details that stood out. And then, of course, Jed Wallace, the Jed Wallace of it all, which I know a lot of us have had a lot to process when it comes to Jed Wallace and are curious. I believe Blake Lively. So she's trying to get Jed Wallace dragged into the case in New York, which is against the Wayfair parties. Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Steve Sorowitz, Melissa Nathan, Jennifer Abel. Blake wants to lump Jed Wallace in with them, but Jed Wallace is independently suing Blake Lively out of Texas. So he's now responding. She just got an extension until April to respond to Lauren is live right now too. Who's Lauren? Lauren who? But yeah, but he's responded. She's got her extension, so she's not responded to him yet in Texas. What I think she's trying to get this extension against Jed Wallace for is to hopefully get the judge to move the case over to the New York lawsuit that she's filed against them rather than have him sue her independently in Texas. We'll have to wait and see. But before we dive into that, Friday's episode of the podcast, guys, I'm just warning you now. I feel like, court of random opinion. Yes. Oh, that Lauren. Sorry. I was like, Lauren, who, what? Sorry. I was coming from the JFK file. So I was thinking, I was like, what? Who's Lauren? I was like, Lauren. My brain was in JFK files and politics and not in Blake and Baldoni stuff. But okay, so as you know, every Friday I'm doing town halls, which are, more panel style. And I invited Dave Neal and Donna Bowling into my studio at Spotify, and we get into a lot of it. Blake Lively filed a motion to dismiss. Well, I mean, yeah, everyone's filing motions to dismiss. That's likely what's going to happen over the next few days. The judge is eventually going, like they're all trying to get discovery from happening. Everyone's trying to block discovery. That's why they're all filing their motions to dismiss, and then they're filing motion to stay discovery because they don't want discovery to move forward until the judge rules. And it's she filed to dismiss they're all filing to dismiss. It's okay, Zach. Too much information with the JFK file. Oh, yeah, my brain is like, there's too much information. I thought Jed had a good chance to get his dismissed. He might get his case dismissed in New York, but I believe he's going to really try to fight for the case to move forward in Texas. What does that mean for Justin? What do you mean? So Jed Wallace is responding, and in his motion to dismiss, this is what's really good and what's really interesting. What is this? Oh, perfect. So it looks like Blake got an extension until 4/4 to respond to Jed's lawsuit. Okay, this is the only deadline at the time of the case that is very early on. Looks Jed will drop his case if Blake Lively drops hers and pays his attorney's fees. Okay. So Jed Wallace is basically saying that, oh, it looks like there's a lot of Jed Wallace's past that's getting dug up. What is this video? Jed Wallace's connection to what is with Lou Taylor? Okay, there's something going on with Lou Taylor and Kanye and the Kardashians. We may have to do a deep dive into Lou Taylor because they're now, if Lou Taylor is getting dragged into Jed Wallace's stuff, that's interesting. Jed Wallace has a troubling past. I can't fathom that Justin would want to associate with him if he knew his background. Sorry, I'm reading an email with some notes from my girl, Nikki. She's the one who's been sending me all the court documents and kind of keeping me in the loop. Jed's line of work. In 2019, Jed Wallace oversaw substance abuse treatment for Bam Margera from Jackass, who allegedly left him a shell of himself. Jed describes his work as crisis mitigation firm engaged by clients to help navigate real-life human crisis, threats, trauma, mental health concerns. It helps primarily families and individuals where they find themselves unjustly attacked, extorted, doxxed, swatted, scammed, or help navigate through the most frightening times. Yes, that's how he describes his work. The BAM situation is Lou Taylor and Robin Greenhill and TriStar adjacent. For context, Blake and Ryan are tiny ants compared to Lou Taylor, who does her evil acts under the veil of her evil empire disguised as the church in Tennessee. Kanye West tweeted her picture on X yesterday when he went to Lulu because of the Kardashians rolled deep with Lou Taylor. In my opinion, Lou helped them get the baby's fake billionaire status. Oh, Kylie, with the help of Britney's money, but a topic for another day. Yeah, we may need to do a deep dive into Lou Taylor. If you haven't heard of Lou, you will want to get deeper into. Yeah, it looks like Lou Taylor has some sort of connections to Diddy and the Kardashians. Kanye West was kind of ranting about that last night, and I was trying to go through that and make sense of that. But what is Jed Wallace's connection to Lou Taylor? And well, that doesn't look good if he has connections to Lou Taylor and Diddy. But so Jed Wallace's response to Blake Lively, he's basically saying that, like, I didn't do what they're accusing me of doing. I don't know. This information about Jed Wallace is now making me rethink this. Oh, and looks like we have Blake Lively's motion to dismiss. That's going to be a long one. Okay, we're probably going to have a few members only this weekend. Okay. But anyway, Jed Wallace is basically saying that all he was hired to do was monitor social media, and that some of the text messages or correspondence that we're seeing with Blake's team or with Justin's team about Blake is more of he was just monitoring Reddit. He was monitoring the chatter online, and he was basically saying that his job was to report back to them about the social trends and what the conversation was. And so it seems like the conversation, for the most part, wasn't good for Blake, though. This is where the Jed Wallace stuff was confusing to me this morning, is because, he has a strong case in terms of like crumbling Blake Lively's theory, but it doesn't necessarily help Justin Baldoni's case in my initial impression of going through it. So he's saying that his job was solely to monitor and report back what the conversation was about, right? Which I agree. Okay, cool. Doesn't sound, because they're accusing him of astroturfing and saying that he was flooding to make sure that certain types of content, specifically negative content about Blake Lively, is supposed to come to the surface. And that seems to be, what they're saying Jed Wallace did. They're really focused on this astroturfing. He's claiming that he didn't do any astroturfing. He was solely that he didn't have to even get to that point of doing any of that stuff. His job at this point was just to monitor the conversation online, and that he parted ways with them in November. So it appears he was working with them from August to November, because that's when he was brought in. And it was just to monitor what the conversation was about online. However, if his job was to monitor the conversation online, and he was aware that the conversation was not positive about Blake Lively, then why wasn't he activated into a phase 2? I guess that's what becomes a bit more confusing for me, is like, well, then what if his job was just to monitor it? That does make sense. But like, if you're monitoring it and it shows that there's negative stuff that's kind of circulating about Blake, if you want to protect the movie, then why would you wouldn't you wanna suppress the negative information? Like, I get it that it went viral and they probably I don't believe that they were complicit in making the negative stories about Blake Lively go viral, but also at the same time, if you're monitoring that and you're aware of it, why wouldn't you wanna stop the n like, it kind of seems like maybe this alleged smear campaign did happen organically and it did kind of go viral, but again, why not try to stop it if you're keeping track of all this? And that's more of my question to Baldoni's crisis management team. I get it that their job is to protect Wayfair and to protect him, but I would also think maybe they would want to protect Blake's reputation as well for the sake of um, protecting the film. That's where I'm a little. I thought he was hired to protect Justin. He was hired to protect Justin, and so yeah, technically, but also I would just think protecting Justin and Wayfair would also mean protecting the film. And if there's a sequel in the works, then you would also want to protect the lead actress, unless they were just kind of salty and they were just like, "Listen, we don't want to protect her. Like, let her bury herself. We don't owe her any loyalty." I don't believe that the smear campaign and the negative content that was circulating, I don't believe that that was astroturfed, and I don't believe that that was deliberate. I really still believe that that was a viral moment where people were just capitalizing off of clowning on Blake. But it at least shows that Baldoni's team was aware, but also it's not their responsibility to protect Blake, right? And if she really is a nightmare behind the scenes, then why would they want to protect her? I mean, I would think maybe they would want to protect her to, I don't know, have some sort of, I don't know, they would want to protect her to protect the sanctity of the film. I don't know. But then again, we do have Justin Baldoni saying like he wants at least the conversation online to be focused on DV awareness. You know, their job was only to focus on Justin. Why should they have done more than that? No, I agree. I'm just listen, I'm trying to analyze it from both ends and play devil's advocate, you know. She had already destroyed the film and any chances of a sequel. I wouldn't say she had destroyed the film yet. I think the hype would have died down that if they went into a second film, I think the second film could have still been successful. Please cover Blake's motion to dismiss. Also, I that literally just came in. We may get into that as well. When would the court date be if this went to trial? May of next. No, the court date is set for oh, Jed Wallace's case. I don't know if Jed Wallace's case has a I don't know if Wallace's case has a date yet, but the Justin Baldoni versus Blake Lively lawsuit, that's or Wayfair versus the Lively parties, that's set for March of 2026, so a year from now. Look at the timeline. She was already threatening. They were just making sure they didn't start anything nasty against him. Yeah, yeah, and you're right. Like that was kind of what they were claiming the crisis PR was put in place for. Was they were worried that she was going to come out with this, so they wanted to just stay on the defense and prepare themselves in the event that she does come forth with her allegations against him. Yes, that is true. Um, By the time it was over, Baldoni's team saw the writing on the wall and probably while he was waiting in the basement. Probably, I mean, maybe, you know, you don't hire crisis PR to protect other actors. No, that's a very good point. I was really just trying to analyze it from the other side and be like, well, but like, why, if they're, you know, trying to say that we're the good guys, like, why wouldn't they want to protect her? But I get it. Like, she was difficult to work with. She was making these threats. They were just preparing themselves to make sure they had their defense ready should they need to activate that. And ultimately, they didn't need to activate that because she ended up taking herself down. Annabeth says, I don't think Justin hired Jed to shut down negative comments, maybe just to keep an eye out for any yeah, no, I mean, you're right. You're right. You're right. Jed Wallace was brought in to monitor social media to make sure that these allegations didn't or nothing negative. Well, if they're claiming that they hired Jed Wallace to make sure that the allegations didn't come out, then does that prove that they did know that they were harassment allegations that she was threatening? Because they're claiming they didn't know about any SH until she filed the CRD complaint. But what would they be so worried about if they truly didn't know about her allegations of SH prior to the CRD complaint then? Because they're saying they're now investigating the harassment allegations because they're saying they're now investigating the harassment allegations because none of those harassment claims were made prior to the CRD complaint. Okay, got it. Hear them. But also, if that's true, then why would they hire Jed Wallace to like what were they afraid of Blake Lively saying if they truly were unaware? And maybe it was the 17-point no more list, where she's just like, no more of this behavior. Maybe they thought that she would, or the fat shaming, that would be another thing. Maybe it's not necessarily specific. Why does everybody want to text me right now? Everybody's sending me emails and text messages. I'm like, I'm trying to stay focused on one topic at a time. But so, I don't know. I'm just workshopping this as I'm getting back into Blake and Baldoni mode. Love the town halls. Keep them coming. We'll just wait until this town hall. Friday's town hall with Dave and Donna is a doozy. I don't know listen, you may end up, you're going to take sides. I'm just telling you that right now. The comments are going to be lit. I'm just warning you, Friday's episode, the comments are going to be on fire. You're going to take sides, and I don't know whose side you're going to take, and I'm fully prepared for you to not take my side in any of this. But it was quite the combo. I don't want to talk too much about like what we discussed, but I mean, obviously today Dave posted his walk and his interview with Taylor Lorenz. That's a big point of discussion during Friday's episode. It's a lot. I expected us to talk a lot about Blake and Baldoni, and we kind of did, but like not like, but we did, but we didn't. It was a very interesting case. Louise said Wayfair was only protecting the film if it's Blake's PR team that's supposed to protect her. I mean, that's true, but she is part of the film, right? So protecting the film is also protecting the actors involved in the film. I think that the letter that they wanted him to say to make an apology, they only wanted to cover Justin. Maybe it did have to do with the letter. Remember, they wanted Jamie Heath and Wayfair and Justin Baldoni to put out that statement. And it seems like the statement is ultimately what spearheaded a lot of this. Do we remember when they wanted the statement to be made? Because that's, I think, crucial in the timeline as well, and why Jed Wallace may have been brought in because they expected that this was going to blow up. But also, I mean, we did see the Reddit post. Remember the Reddit thread that was posted like, what was it, August, September-ish? Right, because it was posted 6 months in January, or was February, so January, December, November, October, September. So yeah, August, September is when it appears that Reddit thread was posted, and the Reddit thread was about how Blake Lively was threatening to go to the New York Times, and ultimately that's what ended up happening, and she was threatening to bring forth allegations. So maybe. Diana says, even if they had hired to protect him, she would have turned this into an attack against her anyway. I agree with that, for sure. Wendy says, Jed wasn't hired until Blake brought up SA and her list of 17 points. Okay, well, first of all, we have to clarify, there was no SA. SA has never been brought up at all. There's a big difference between SA and SH. Big difference. That's assault versus harassment. So we have to throw SA out of the ballpark. And her list of 17 points. Yes, but the list of 17 points didn't include any SH, and it certainly didn't include any SA, and that was back in January. So what happened from the list in January to August when Jed Wallace was brought on? That's where I'm just trying to put the timeline together, listening to both sides. I'd love to be a fly on the wall to see if anyone in their world is giving them any good advice. I mean, listen, after Ryan Reynolds doubling down and calling Justin Baldoni a predator, that was wild. Oh my God, Colleen Hoover writes 4th grade level tripe, all with sipping her Pepsi. Jeez. So Colleen Hoover seems to be trolling the internet now. She keeps posting about Diet Pepsi. She responded to, do I have that here? She responded to me because remember how I posted that video and then we talked about it here on the show about how it was disturbing, which, listen, I agree. It was disturbing. I stand by my statement calling it disturbing. But here, I'll pull up her story, which also got picked up online. I saw Entertainment Tonight shared her response to it as well. Let me pull it up for you here. That way you can see her response. She writes, because obviously I shared her video that we played on the show yesterday, and it's also on Instagram where she's looking terribly lit. And if you look at the timeline, it appears that this Liddy City video that we played yesterday was uploaded to Instagram at like 7:30 in the morning, or depending on which time zone you're in. Some people say that she's in the Midwest, so that would mean if it was 7:30 my time, then it was likely 8 or 9:30 her time, which would make it 10:30 Eastern time. Regardless, for anybody to be slurring like that and to have their eyes that dead that early in the morning is alarming. It's concerning and it's disturbing. But so she posted this on Instagram in response to me saying they must be new here, saying us, we must be new here. Making ice cubes out of Diet Pepsi is one of the least disturbing things I've posted on here. And I was like, lady, listen, we're not disturbed by you putting Diet Pepsi in ice cube trays and freezing that. That's not what's disturbing. What's disturbing is the fact that your behavior seems to be very off and it's super early in the morning, 7 or 8 a.m., and you look blitzed. You look sauced. You're Liddy City, like completely Liddy City, you know? Homegirl was lit, 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 lit. Liddy City to the max. So, mm, don't know. Um, anyone who prefers Diet Pepsi over Diet Coke is very sus. What's funny, so she's gone on to then troll the internet and she's talking about how she's focused so much on the Diet Pepsi. But it's funny because a lot of people are talking about Diet Pepsi and how Diet Pepsi is questionable in comparison to Diet Coke, and Colleen Hoover is good at good at making bad choices. And so I was like, well, Blake Lively is the Diet Pepsi and Justin Baldoni is the Diet Coke. So I just thought that was a funny observation. But so she's basically saying, and then I believe she went on, somebody sent me a thread from her Reddit, and I believe she went on Reddit and was like, I wasn't drunk. I wasn't on pills. I'm not on drugs. And I was like, that is not normal behavior. She's saying that it was just early in the morning. She says that this was 6 in the morning. But like, I don't know. First of all, the makeup, right? Like her makeup, she has a full face of makeup. This looks like she didn't, I don't know, something about am I crazy? Like, she's very clearly wearing makeup. She has concealer on, she has eye makeup on. Like, you're gonna tell me this is her, like, she just woke up and is behaving like this? Like, this is her normal, like, wake up in the morning? Like, no, Zach, I believe it was an act. I don't think it was an act because nobody was really paying attention to her. And she claims that she does stuff like this all the time. And then other people were in my DMs and they're like, yeah, I'm a Colleen Hoover fan and she behaves like this all the time. I'm like, oh, so she's just always lit? She's just always Liddy City in the morning? Like, I don't know about that. Tanya says, that's her normal personality. She seems fun. I don't know if fun is the right word. But like, yeah, yeah. I call BS. She was drunk or high. I mean, that's what it looked like. What sober person slurs. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I don't think that that's true. She shared another story, Zach, where she talks about merchandise. Yeah, we played that whole thing. She talked about the merchandise and it's on sale for $10 and she has to fire Stephanie and whatever. But so, yeah, she seems her biggest issue, she's like, "Yeah, they must be new here. This isn't disturbing." But it's not, nobody's disturbed by the Diet Pepsi. I mean, well, some people maybe because 'cause they're fans of Diet Coke. But the concerning part was the behavior that she was exhibiting. Her eyes looked very deadpan. Her voice, like, she was slurring and she was like, and we put water in water, and we put wine in wine, and, "Oh, well, actually, I guess we don't put ice cubes in wine," and I'm like, "That's not normal behavior." Like, does she really want us to believe that we just fell out of a coconut tree? Because not normal at all. Like, if she's trying to convince us that's normal behavior, no. She's like Kim Richards, she fell out of from that coconut tree. Yeah, that's what it looks like. Hello, vodka. It's me, Colleen. Ayahuasca. That's funny. Um, Side effects. Yeah, she got her creative juices flowing. That she sure did. She wants attention because she has like 4 movies coming out. I don't think that this was deliberate. Like, I don't think she was trying to get attention from this, or maybe like subliminally, but I don't think she expected it to blow up the way that it did on social media and on, yeah, her pupils were pin needles. Yeah, I don't understand Her guilt is coming through. Could it be possible that she's in treatment and that the doc gave her meds that made her Yeah, I mean, listen, it's possible that they're, like, anti-anxiety meds that she was taking. Like, it's possible that there's something, you know? Zach is the daddy, but we need to collab with a mommy. That's Donna. I've listened to podcasts that she's done. She did not speak that way at all. She was either drunk or high for sure. Thank you, Amy Davis. I agree. We've heard her talk before. And never she's learning like that. She was just like, oh, it's because it was first thing in the morning and I was tired. No, that's not tired. You can be a little groggy, but like you're groggy for like the first 5 minutes, right? Like you're like, oh, and then eventually you kind of get it together. And she's like, I don't drink coffee. So I had to drink my Diet Pepsi. I don't know. Sharon says she's drinking to forget. Yeah. Pepsi ice cubes. Could someone explain? It's not that hard, Ari. You freeze Diet Pepsi or you freeze whatever orange juice, water. Like it's just people do it with coffee. They freeze coffee and then they use the coffee ice cubes to put in their coffee in the morning so their coffee's not that hot because it melts. And when it melts, it keeps your drink cold, but then it doesn't water down your drink because that's not water, it's what you're drinking, you know? So instead of watering down your Diet Pepsi, you just have regular Diet Pepsi and then it keeps your Diet Pepsi cold. That's just crazy housewife syndrome. Mom's insane from unhappiness. It's not looking good. Kat says, "You would think she'd be more careful about her performative weirdness with one of the movies in the middle of a legal battle and other movies in the works." Yeah, I would agree. That's why I'm like, that's why it's so weird, is because like you would think that this behavior, one, is not normal, and you wouldn't be exhibiting this type of behavior if, you're currently in the middle of a scandal. Like it's just, it doesn't look good, you know? Brigitte says, Zach, I listened to Dave's interview of Taylor Lorenz this morning. It pissed me off and kept writing on the chat that you should interview. Oh, get ready. That comes up tomorrow. That comes up in tomorrow's episode. That comes up. And here's a little teaser. Dave picks up the phone to call Taylor Lorenz in the middle of our discussion. So, and you're gonna see it all play out tomorrow. It was a very interesting combo. It's a good combo. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, we can have differences of an opinion and we can, you know, see things differently. Yeah, it's interesting. Is Colleen Hoover gonna be deposed? Most likely, yes. Most likely, yes. Oof. Brigitte says, "Oh my god, can't wait." I don't think Taylor Lorenz would ever sit down with me. Ever. I don't think she'd I think she's no. Yeah. I would not that I'm inviting her to, but I'm not, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. Kenny says, almost at 90,000. Hit that like button, please. Daddy needs you. Yes, Daddy Sleuth is trying to get to 100K. 100K. Ugh. What time is the town hall? Depends on when the editor gets it to me. Okay, well, I promised that I would talk about the JFK files, so let's get into the JFK files, and then Blake Lively's motion to dismiss. We will get into that. Maybe that'll have to be a separate members only. I don't know. AKA the cat lady. Dave is trying to see the good in people, but Taylor has hurt too many people. She's done real damage to so many. I agree, and that's kind of my issue. And listen, you'll hear my thoughts. You will hear my thoughts tomorrow. Dave is a really good guy. He really I want to defend him here too. He's a really good guy. He has a really good heart. He's always willing to listen to all sides of, the table, and I think that that's really important that we have people like Dave. I just wish there was, a bit more accountability, from Taylor. And I wish that, Dave would have maybe just held her a bit more accountable, right? Like it's always good to have these conversations where we find middle ground, but like we also need to have a level of accountability. Like we can't just only sit in an echo chamber and allow, I don't know. He's a really nice guy. I adore Dave. I love Dave. Will continue to always be a supporter of Dave. I think he's absolutely a champion for women. He's a good guy. He's a good dad. From what I see, a good husband on Instagram. So I'm, you know, I don't have anything negative to say about him, but I do wish he would have held her a bit more accountable because I was watching that this morning. Zack, I want to adopt you. Why? Uh, I did like the way Dave filmed the combo with Taylor. Can you and Donna go for a walk with the selfie stick? It was a fun, kind of unique um, interview, right? With the way that it was kind of like, let's go for a walk. I liked that. For people who are in the movie industry, why are you shocked when the bullies let loose? Ari says, "What about Bradley Cooper, Gigi Hadid, all others included in that pre-screen?" Well, do we have confirmation that Gigi was there? I know Bradley Cooper will likely be brought into. First of all, we don't know if what truth there was to that pre-screening, but we do at least know that Bradley Cooper was thanked in the credits. So it appears he did have some sort of involvement. I would imagine Bradley Cooper gets dragged into this for sure. I don't know so much about Gigi Hadid though. That's why you would have been the best. Listen, I don't think any of these people would be willing to sit down with me. Taylor Lorenz, Stephanie McNeil, Nick Vial. I think they'll roll their eyes and think that I'm not worthy of their time. But I think the real reason they won't sit down or have a conversation with me is because they're afraid. Because I think I would hold them accountable. I wouldn't be mean. I wouldn't try to be disrespectful in any way. But I very much am not going to let you waver and run circles around me. I would love Zack and Donna walking around on a selfie stick. That would be funny. I didn't mind the Dave mostly listened. She was the guest and he was hearing her out. Plus, she wasn't going to change her mind. So the value is letting her explain her position and we can decide. That's where I disagree though, because it's like I understand letting her share her side for sure. And I do believe that there is value in letting somebody else explain their position. However, you know, wh she wasn't going but you're saying she wasn't going to change her mind. So then what's the point? Just to give her, a stage to peddle what she's talking about? Because in the interview with Dave, she goes off about Candace Owens and about how Candace Owens just rants on her stage and is spreading, misinformation or whatever. And it's like, well, why are you critical of Candace Owens doing that? And then you're sitting here doing the exact same thing. And that's, again, you'll hear this tomorrow, but I make the point that I think Taylor Lorenz will only go on shows that, will give her an opportunity to just spew her bullshit without calling her out on any of it. And calling out is obviously a strong word, right? Like if I were to have that opportunity, I don't think I would be mean to her, but like calling her out in terms of accountability, right? Like why do you get to criticize people in this space right now that you think are doing something and then you're literally doing the exact same thing? You just want a stage so that you can have a microphone to share your point of view, or do you want an actual dialogue? Because if you're willing to talk to somebody that has a different viewpoint, then I think that's more compelling and more interesting to see that dynamic go back and forth rather than to just have a stage to shout out to the echo chamber, because that's the reality of what she's doing. She's going on all these other shows and all these other podcasts so that she has an opportunity to spew her shit without anybody calling her out or calling out any of the contradictions in it, because she then wants to reach other people so that it then promotes her. Like that's the reality of it at the end of the day. And I'm willing to have my mind changed about her. Her entire interview was about politics, left versus right, but loads of people who are not Americans have opinions and are invested in this trial. She's completely dismissing anyone. Yeah, trust me. Just wait till tomorrow's podcast interview. I make a lot of these points. I don't want to give too much away. Yeah, I think a lot of just wait and be patient. And yeah, I agree with you a lot, Brigitte. Have we checked out any of Without a Crystal Ball's coverage? I've seen some of it. Yes, I think I just recently started following her too. Okay, let's talk about the JFK files, and then we'll try to dip into the Blake Lively motion to dismiss. That's probably going to be fascinating. That's going to be interesting. I can't stay. Today's episode can't be too long because I do have to tape with Colonel Kurtz after this. I'm doing Colonel Kurt's show, and then I'm also doing I'm doing a couple of shows this week, so stay tuned for that. But before we dive into the JFK files and before we get into the Blake Lively's motion to dismiss, I do want to give some love to my pals at Factor. If you guys are ready to optimize your nutrition this year, Factor has made chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes so that you can feel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. You can lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto meals based on randomized controlled clinical trial with Factor Keto. Results will vary depending on diet and exercise, but it's definitely a great option if you want to consider it. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor helps you feel great all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab and go snacks, and more add-ons. I love Factor's Protein Plus package. I actually am waiting for my next box to come in because I have already gone through mine. I've been trying to build up my protein like, look at that. Trying to get in that protein. But Factor can help you feel your best all day long. Reach your goals this year with ingredients that you can trust and convenience that you just can't beat. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code factorpodcast at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. The link and the code are in the description below. All right, back to the show. JFK files got released this week. And I will say this was a lot better than the Epstein files because when those dropped, that was a shit show. And that was nothing. We got a whole lot of nothing from the Epstein files. But at least here we get the JFK files. I think there's still a lot of info that may be missing. Listen, I'm not one of the JFK conspiracy theorists. I don't have the Reddit threads. I haven't gone down all the crazy rabbit holes. So if you've covered it very deeply or you know a lot about it, this is going to be very high level surface coverage to just kind of give the average consumer an idea of what is in these files. Okay. And then we'll get into the Blake Lively motion to dismiss. But so from these JFK files, obviously there's a lot of focus on Lee Harvey Oswald, who is the person that facilitated or that I don't know what's the YouTube friendly that executed the plan. But yeah, so there were a lot of suspicions regarding his visits to the Soviet and Cuban embassies in Mexico City. Like a lot of it focuses on the months leading up to the assassination, right? And Oswald's role and everything. Now I know a lot of people believe that there's a lot more than just Oswald that was, obviously he's the one that executed the deal, but they believe that there were a lot more people that were complicit, including some of our own intelligence agencies. But there were at least a lot of suspicions around Oswald, his connections to the Soviet Union, his connections to Cuba, his time in Mexico City leading up to the assassination attempt, especially a lot of concerns regarding the defection, right? Apparently, there were serious concerns about a potential plan for him to assassinate JFK. This stemmed from, there was a claim that was brought forth to the American Vice Consul out of Bulgaria, and that was in August of 1963. So at least as of August 1963, there was a very strong concern that Oswald was likely going to take some action against President JFK. Okay. JFK was assassinated in November of 1963. So August, September, October, November, less than 4 months later is when it was actually acted out. So then a lot of questions come from, well, if there was a strong tip and we believe that this was happening and we were aware of it as early as August or as, in the timeline, if it was very clear that there was a serious threat, then why wasn't it acted upon, right? That's the big question. So he was on the CIA's radar. He was on the FBI's radar for quite some time. Very clear plans to execute. No hard evidence or confirmation that he was actually a KBG agent, but there were, but at least CIA, FBI, US intelligence, they were aware of his relationship with the Soviet Union. So if anything, it kind of seems like it's debunked that he was a KGB agent. There's a Soviet intelligence evaluation. They have a letter that says that from them that basically dismisses Oswald as a poor shot of, I guess, someone that they can utilize. So that kind of seems to debunk that he was an official KGB agent, but that doesn't mean that he didn't have some unofficial role or capacity, right? Again, not in the deep rabbit hole, not one of the conspiracy theorists. Obviously, I was well, I mean, if he was assassinated in 63, that was before my time. But a lot of it stems from this guy, Sergei Zornono, Czornonoh, Zerzona. He not only warned about Oswald, but here's the really interesting thing. He also predicted the assassination of MLK. Now we have the MLK documents that are supposed to be coming out. So it at least appears that there's some sort of connection or thread between JFK and MLK. So John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, which then brings back the theories of, was this U.S. intelligence that had a very active role in this, right? Lots of questions. But there seems to be people in the U.S. intelligence that do have ties to the assassination. There are a number of different people that are mentioned and referenced in different connections and ties. So it at least appears that there was some sort of role. I guess I'll get to that in a sec. But the documents also show that Cuba very much under, or confirms that Cuba was very much under the influence of the Soviet Union. Castro's a big part of a lot of it, and the anti-Castro movements. Other notable finds in the documents, two things: Biden and Israel. So I guess Biden is referenced because JFK Jr. calls Biden a traitor. Joe Biden, at the time he was a senator, so Senator Biden at this time so this was later on, but this is JFK Jr. This was afterwards. Just kind of something that people were picking up on, that I saw on X, that people were like, "Ooh, Biden's brought up in the JFK files," and so JFK's son, JFK Jr., definitely appeared to think that Biden was a traitor. What does that mean? I don't know. But that was just a notable mention that people were talking about. Israel's brought up a lot, specifically with info regarding the Israeli missile development. Apparently, there was a much more formal and unique relationship with the CIA and with the FBI, and specific protocols that they had for handling information related to Israel. What does that mean? Take that for what you want. I don't know. Just notable mention. So basically, people are concluding that the CIA did it and that they also took out MLK. That kind of seems to be a general consensus online, that the CIA was very much involved in the assassination of JFK, likely with the attempt to frame Cuba. That seems to be a theory too, that they were doing this to frame Cuba and wanted to push for a third world war. It's clear that U.S. intelligence at least knew that this was coming, so they were either complicit or they failed to properly address it. That's kind of my conclusion. PB says, here's the JFK issue. If anyone dug into the CIA and the history, you know what happened and why it happened, from JFK to Diddy, from Epstein to Bush. You will never get to the you will not ever get to the truth. I mean, yeah, that's, again, a lot to it, And JFK Jr. died because of a plane crash. Yes, I mean, listen, I know a lot of people have a lot of different conspiracies. Biden was not elected until Senate until 1972. JFK was killed in 63. Yes, but this was not JFK. This was JFK Jr., to clarify, Ari. So that was a note that came later. But it's interesting that it was in these files. I don't know if that's something deliberate with the current administration that was trying to make sure that kind of got out there. I don't know. Again, here's the information. Take it for what it's worth. Conclude what you will. So who did it, Zack? Russia, mafia, CIA? Why? I'm confused. Unclear of who exactly. Again, I think there's a lot of information that's still kind of missing, that doesn't make it entirely clear as to who did it. But it's very obvious that U.S. intelligence, again, either knew about it and failed to properly protect the president, or knew about it and allowed it to happen, or knew about it and was likely complicit in or had an active role in it. It's unclear exactly, but it's very clear that the CIA was, at least at the very minimum, very aware that this was a potential and that this was likely to happen. People, this is going to take a few months to read through everything. It's 80,000 dollars. Exactly. This is just the beginning. This is just kind of the surface of it all. So stay tuned. So many theories, yes. But also think about it. 80,000 documents. Like, not only is that going to take time, but like, you have to really sift through everything, put all the theories together. and really kind of figure out if you can piece together the tangled web of the JFK assassination. It's going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be interesting. But so, yeah. Upload documents into ChatGPT and ask to summarize it. I think some people did do that because I did see some ChatGPT summarizations, which again, maybe we have to do a separate members only live where we really dive into that, or a separate live altogether outside of the podcast where we really dive into that. But yeah, there's a lot there to get into. Only to betray Bobby heading the federal investigation into the mob. Hence your headache, Zack. Thank you, Katharina. That's why I came into this with like my head. I'm trying, what? Jed Wallace, what did he do again? Who is he? What's happening? I went from like CIA and Oswald and JFK and Biden's a traitor and the plane crash. Like what? I went from all of that to then shifting gears back to Blake and Baldoni and Jed Wallace and astroturfing and Colleen Hoover getting lit at 7 a.m. Yeah. Lots in there, but we'll see what comes out of that. I think the two lawyers are covering that now about Blake asking the case to be dismissed, FYI, but Zack first in my world, then listen to others. Thank you, Laura. I'll probably have to tune into their summary as well. Okay, can't wait to hear the new motion. Okay, so I guess let's pull this up. Let's pull up Blake's motion to dismiss. Is that this one or is it this one? What's the difference? Why do I have two documents? Oh, one is the notice of it. Got it. And then the other one is the actual. Should we just kind of try to skim through? Is that crazy to try to skim through all of this right now? Open. I may be crazy because I think I'm actually gonna. Okay. Here it is. This is it, right? Yes, sure. Okay. We have it here. Let's do this. Okay. Let's try to skim through this as best as possible. No, only Lauren is doing the live read. The two lawyers will do it later. Yes, Liddy City is my new Friday night goal. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Yeah, that's Colleen Hoover's model. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, even at 6 a.m. All right, let's see. Okay, let's scroll through this and see what we got. Background, legal standard, argument. So is this to dismiss from Blake Lively versus Wayfair Studios versus Blake Lively? Okay. I love when the pages include just all of these things. That's less pages to read. Okay, introduction. Introduction and summary of argument. So we'll do the introduction and the summary of the argument. If we want to go page by page, we can do a members only live for that. The Wayfair party's vengeful and rambling lawsuit against Blake Lively. I love that they call it a vengeful and rambling lawsuit. The shade. People don't realize how shady these legal filings are. The vengeful and rambling lawsuit against Blake Lively is a profound abuse of the legal process that has no place in federal court. The law prohibits weaponizing defamation lawsuits like this one to retaliate against individuals who have filed legal claims. Oh, shut up. Who have filed legal claims and have publicity spoken about harassment and retaliation, the right to seek legal redress, and the right of the press to report on it are sacred principles. Unless you abuse them, don't get me started. Unless you abuse those sacred principles. And then they reference, including litigation and fair reporting privilege, which are absolute. Okay, well, why are you defending the New York Times if this is solely about protecting Blake Lively in this specific dismissal, right? Moreover, by choosing to bring their claims under California law, the Wayfair parties have voluntarily subjected their entire lawsuit to the harassment privilege. They're trying to use all the privileges. Blake Lively is the face of privilege, and she's trying to use all the privileges. Subjected their entire lawsuit to the harassment privilege in the recently enacted California Civil Code, blah, 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 which bars retaliatory lawsuits based on public disclosures of harassment and related allegations, including disclosures to the press. It's a little different, though, when you take a confidential document, you leak it publicly with all of this information, and it appears that there was likely some sort of collusion and that this that this, what do you call it? CRD complaint was likely to just be a guise of protection, right? It looks like you were abusing these privileges to protect yourself. Given all these protections, the Wayfarer Party's chief complaint that Miss Lively and others supposedly conspired with the New York Times is barred as a matter of fact. She was legally entitled to destroy him. No, JK. She was legally entitled to file her complaint and disclose it to the public. Oh, okay. So she's admitting that she disclosed it to the public. She's admitting that she leaked this to the New York Times. That to me sounds like an admission, Judge. On top of that, Section 47.1 contains a mandatory fee shifting provision that will require the Wayfarer parties to pay not only Miss Lively's attorney's fees, but also treble damages and punitive damages if and when their defamation lawsuit is dismissed. In other words, in an epic self-own, the Wayfarer parties have created more liability for themselves by their malicious efforts to sue Miss Lively into oblivion. Steve Sorowitz may indeed make good on his threat to spend $100 million litigating Miss Lively, but perhaps not in the way he planned. Ooh, snap, snap, snap. Blake Lively's team, all of the Lively parties came in with a little snap, snap, pat the puss. It's an Erica Jane reference. The court's individual rules, the Wayfarer parties, I'm reading the footnotes. The Wayfarer parties and Miss Lively have agreed that the briefs in support of and in opposition to this motion be limited to 35 pages and reply brief with a limited 15 pages. The Wayfarer parties are Justin Baldone. Okay, got it. Among its many additional incurable defects, the FAC, the First Amended Complaint, does not allege a single element of defamation or false light claims properly, stating with the failure to allege defamatory statements with specificity. Instead, lumping all plaintiffs to get claims together are an impermissible group pleading. Brushing aside this obvious problem, the Wayfarer parties have repeatedly asserted in recent filings that their claims against all the consolidated defendants, including Miss Lively, arise from two principal categories of defamatory statements. One, they allege that allegations that Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath engaged in misconduct toward Miss Lively, and two, allegations that the Wayfarer parties orchestrated a retaliatory smear campaign to damage Lively's image and reputation after she reported their purported misconduct. Well, the reason all of the parties are lumped together is because they're all accused of orchestrating this plan to take down Justin Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties. It's not that hard to understand. Keep up. This admission is fatal to their claim, as these two principal categories make clear the only alleged wrongdoing the FAC attributes to Miss Lively stems from her speaking up about harassment and retaliation, which is firmly, speaking up about. That's an interesting choice of words. Which is firmly protected by each of the litigation, fair report, and harassment privileges. In any event, the bulk of the Wayfarer party's reputation-based claims are time barred because the FAC expressly admits that Miss Lively first published her allegedly defamatory harassment accusations in her 17-point list in December of 2023, more than a year before the Wayfarer parties initiated this action, and thus outside the 1-year statute of limitations. Oh, we're really going to try to nickel and dime everything here, huh? I mean, it's standard. We're in court, right? We try to throw everything at the wall. And as for their menacing $400 million damages claim, the Wayfarer parties do not even try to explain its basis, much less specifically allege their so-called injuries. Okay. There's very clearly, the damages are clear. That's wild that they're just we didn't even know what damages they're talking about, Judge. Rogue says, sorry I'm coming in late. I was trying to watch Dave's interview with Taylor Lorenz, but she's so insufferable and trying to rewrite history. Yes, I agree, Rogue. Okay, let's get back to it. Yet another of the FAC's insurmountable deficiencies is its utter failure to allege actual malice. Oh, so what did she do this for? What? They're really trying to play this off of semantics and technicalities. That's how you know you don't have a strong case, when you're really trying to get into the wording and the privileges, i.e. that Miss Lively subjectively did not believe the harassment allegations she raised. Other than the many pages of empty bluster, the FAC not only fails to allege actual malice, it pleads just the opposite by demonstrating her good faith beliefs. Among other things, the FAC incorporates by reference a damning text message between Mr. Baldoni and Miss Nathan, in which they both agree that Lively genuinely believes she's right and that all of this is unjust. Mm, I mean, that is a decent point. I'll give her that. In lieu of concrete facts, the FAC resorts to implausible conjecture and conspiracy theories to allege that Miss Lively falsified her allegations. That's fucking rich because most of her argument is conjecture and conspiracy theories um about the what do you call it? Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. No. Ugh. Let's see. In lieu of concrete facts, the FAC resorts to implausible conjecture and conspiracy theories. Like it's wild because like her entire case is circumstantial and based off of a conspiracy that Jed Wallace was astroturfing in an attempt to take her down. Like it's total paranoia. On one hand, the Wayfarer parties insist that Miss Lively is an immensely powerful Hollywood superstar who, along with her influential husband, wielded power to steal creative control over the film. But on the other hand, they claim that she was so powerless that the only way she could have had any power was by manufacturing harassment allegations almost a year in advance in a Machiavellian long game. These two concepts contradict each other and therefore cannot coexist. What? That literally makes absolutely no sense. Let me read that again. Miss Lively is an immensely powerful Hollywood superstar, yes, who, along with her influential husband, is wielding power to steal control over the film. Yep. But on the other hand, they claim that she was so powerless that the only way that she could have any power was by manufacturing harassment allegations almost a year in advance in a Machiavellian long game. I don't understand how I mean, them phrasing her as saying that Lively would be powerless, the only way she can do it was by using harassment allegations. No, that was just one of the tactics that she used as a immensely powerful Hollywood superstar. Like, hello, she obviously had power, and that's obvious by the way WME dropped Ryan Reynolds. These two concepts contradict each other and therefore cannot coexist. Even if these bizarre theories made sense, which they do not. I think they make pretty damn good sense to me. The FAC offers no plausible fact to support the conclusatory assertion that Miss Lively ever subjectively doubted that any of the misconduct she alleged had occurred as she described it, including the 17-point list that they signed, the disclosures made in the January 4th meeting, and her eventual legal complaints. Indeed, despite its narrative fury against her, the FAC repeatedly and consistently includes facts that demonstrate Miss Lively's genuine good faith belief that she was mistreated and her appropriate and private efforts to improve the situation for her and others. Really? So now we're arguing that her appropriate and private efforts. You were literally just saying that you had the privileges that protect her from being able to disclose the details publicly. As for the FAC's other claim, it's unclear whether a civil extortion claim exists under California law, but even if it does, the nature of the alleged extortion is so convoluted and it cannot survive. The so called extortion arises out of the exact same categories of protected speech that fail to support defamation. Miss Lively's supposed threats to reveal her harassment claim if the Wayfarer parties did not give into her demands for creative control over the movie, threats which are never specifically identified anywhere in the FAC because they never happened. Oh, really? So what then how did she end up getting her own edit? How did she end up getting him put in the basement if she had no power? Come on. Moreover, the FAC does not allege what money or property Miss Lively received from the Wayfarer parties for supposedly extorting her way into the editing movie for no additional pay. Indeed. Well, I don't know. Does extortion have to be monetary? Let's look this up. Extortion. The practice of obtaining something, especially money, through force or threats. He used bribery and extortion to build himself a huge art stuffed mansion. Okay, so this example shows that it can be so the project, that was the extortion. She didn't gain any monetary value, but she did gain access, she did gain control of the movie. Um, Miss Rebecca says, "I love the part about mandatory damages and fees paid by the losing party because that's going to be Blake and Ryan. Sounds like that will come as a big surprise for them." Well, I think it's funny because should they lose their side and should they have to pay Baldoni's legal fees, they're going to have some sort of argument as to why they shouldn't have to pay the legal fees. They're full of double standards. Indeed, FAC's self-defeating claim appears to be that Miss Lively bullied her way into doing more work than she was contractually obligated to without additional compensation, while Wayfair profited handsomely from the movie's blockbuster success. I mean, I don't agree with it, but it is that line is a bit of a serve, right? Because they're saying like he made all of the profit off of the movie, but I think it's because their intent was to gain. I mean, it likely was to gain rights to the second film, right? Notably, the Wayfair parties did not pursue any action against Miss Lively for this supposed extortion until after she filed legal claims, which speaks volumes about this lawsuit's purpose. Really? Because she didn't file a lawsuit until after he sued the New York Times for defamation and called her a liar. The FAC also claims that Ms. Lively violated the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealings, but cannot identify any term upon which that duty hinges, as with the above. This claim seems to be based on Miss Lively doing more than she was contractually required rather than a breach of any obligation. Finally, the Wayfair part that's an interesting way to spin it. Finally, the Wayfair parties claim that Miss Lively interfered with the contract, yet are unable to identify the contract, any of its terms, who it was with, and how it was breached. I would assume that would be her contract, um, and likely his contract with WME. In short, nothing in the FAC resembles an actionable legal claim. It is instead a blunt public relations instrument designed to further the Wayfair Party's sinister campaign to bury and destroy Miss Lively for speaking out about harassment and retaliation. The court should dismiss the FAC and, as required by California law, hold further proceedings to calculate an appropriate award of Miss Lively's attorney's fees, treble damages for the harm this meritless lawsuit has inflicted on her, and punitive damages against each of the Wayfair parties. Okay, I'm not going to get into background. I'm not going to get into all the other details. That was their basic summary judgment. That's as far as we're going to review today because this episode has already been long and we've already had a bunch of other things that we've discussed. Any responses? Let's see. Nicole says they are scrambling after they were served with discovery requests. That's really what this is. That's why they're all fighting to have it dismissed, and it's a motion to dismiss, and then a motion to stay discovery until the judge makes a decision about the dismissal. And unless the judge comes in with one clean swoop of like nobody's cases are getting dismissed, this is going to take a minute. And this is ultimately going to delay discovery. So I know we have a deadline of August 14th, but I don't know if they're going to meet that deadline of August 14th for what was it? Let me see. Let me pull up the timeline again. It's very important, as Taranja Medley would say. Important. Boom. So this is the original timeline of events, or at least the due dates, right? And so it looks like by August 14th, we're supposed to have depositions done and fact discovery completed. I don't know if we're going to get that far because I guess it's smart. Judge needs to start ruling on these things fast, like judge needs to get up on it. But yeah, I don't know if we're going to get depositions and fact discovery done by August 14th. That's an aggressive deadline. I know that sounds far away, but like that'll be here soon. Zach, what's going on with the MNTN IPO? What is the MNTN IPO? Oh, I was thinking motion to just I thought that sorry. What's going on with are these stall tactics? Maybe so the MNTN, is there an article? MNTN IPO. I believe that there is. Here we go. Yahoo Finance. I'll pull up this article. That way you guys can see it. Let me put this on the screen. Yes, that is a theory. I don't know if that theory is accurate, but that is a theory for sure. My money don't jiggle jiggle. It folds. I want to see you wiggle wiggle for sure. Okay. Ryan Reynolds, MNTN files for IPO showing revenue growth. This is by Bailey Lipschultz in Yahoo Finance. So MNTN Inc., which is Ryan Reynolds' company, a connected TV advertising platform that counts Hollywood stars, Ryan Reynolds as its chief creative officer, filed an initial public offering showing revenue growth for narrowing losses. Boom. The company, which provides advertising software that helps brands promote themselves through campaigns on connected TVs, is offering new shares of the IPO as well, selling stockholders, according to a filing with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission on Friday. Proposed terms for the listing will be disclosed in a later filing when the underwriters are set to begin marketing and shares. The company had a net loss of 32 million on revenue of about 226 million for 2024, compared with the net loss of 53 million of revenue of 176 million a year earlier, according to the filing. Its MNTN Performance TV platform offers a suite of targeting measurements and automated optimization technology, according to its website. The company acquired Reynolds' creative agency Maximum Effort in 2021. The terms of the deal weren't disclosed. MNTN will join what's been a stronger start to this. MNTN will join what's been a stronger start to the year for the U.S. IPOs through though more modest than most bankers had anticipated, with 58 companies raising 9.8 billion this year, data compiled in the Bloomberg show. In 2021, MNTN raised 119 million in a Series D financing round, co-led by funds and accounts managed by BlackRock Inc. and Fidelity Management and Research Co., which together invested about 110 million, according to a statement at that time. The offering is being led by Morgan Stanley, Citigroup Inc., and Evermore Inc. The company plans for its shares to trade on the New York Stock Exchange under the symbol MNTN. Yeah. So companies about to go, or they're filing. They want they want the company. This is from Bloomberg. That they want the company to go public. So a lot of money on the table for Ryan Reynolds. People are thinking maybe these delay tactics are so that it doesn't hurt the sale. It doesn't hurt their IPO chances. Yeah. Melanie King said BlackRock not good. I agree. Very obvious. Brigitte said, I think MNTN sold Max Effort back to Ryan Reynolds, but Ryan Reynolds still has points in MNTN. Yes. I mean, regardless, still a lot of money on the table for Ryan Reynolds. So I don't know if again, that goes into more of the conspiracy theories, as Blake Lively referenced in her motion to dismiss. I don't know. I don't know. So many different theories swirling. I know, and I can't keep up with all of it. So did you watch Candace Owens' video on Ryan kissing multiple guys, 25 seconds French kiss with Conan O'Brien? I mean, she definitely thinks he's gay. I mean, it's possible that he's batting for both teams. I wouldn't be surprised, you know? Zach, have you seen the Jonathan Audie interview with the cops? No, I have not. I haven't followed the Jonathan Audie stuff. Where it said, Ranger says, where it says the only way she could have had power was, etc. part. No one really thought this nonsensical word salad. The point is that she is not supposed to have any power on the film, not how. Yeah, I mean, listen, they tried. I gave them brownie points because they tried to hit some serves and they thought that they were cute with their little reeds in their lands, but I don't think it fully landed. Lively and Reynolds also have movies coming out, so they need to delay the truth as long as possible. I mean, that's possible. I mean, we have another Simple Favorite that's coming out. There's this IPO. Yeah, a lot that they could. I mean, just settle. Like at this point, like why continue to delay this and waste the court's time and try to fight? I don't know. I don't know. There's a blind item. Sandra Bullock is a lesbian. I don't know. Nor do I care if he's gay or she's a lesbian. Let them live their lives. Give years of video bad behavior, it will come back to bite you. Yeah. Her giving for like with her, but even with Ryan Reynolds, for him to go out and try to like pull quotes from Justin Baldoni's book and his TED Talk to like make it seem like he's a predator. And I'm like, bro, have you not looked at TikTok? Have you not looked on Reddit? Like, people believe that you're a predator. You talked about grabbing Olivia Wilde. Like, it's just, that's what's crazy. Brigitte says, I want to try. I mean, they may be going to try. I finally found out how to become a member. Yay, Jacqueline, welcome. I don't think Colleen was putting only Diet Pepsi in those ice cubes. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot more than just alcohol in that. Personal opinion, and as Ryan Reynolds has argued, we're allowed to our opinion. The PGA mark is pretty valuable, apparently, the goal of her threat. So yeah, extortion. Yeah, exactly. Extortion doesn't always have to be money. There just has to be some sort of value. You're acquiring something. You're pushing forth. I love Zack, so damn funny with yesterday's feet talk. That was wild. Benzos, maybe. How do I apply for the jury? They would definitely not let you on the jury if you're looking to apply for it. Yeah. So how many dismissals now? Blake, Ryan, New York Times, Leslie Sloan, all of them. Yeah, they've all filed motions to dismiss. We'll see where that goes. I love Zack visiting other channels. In my opinion, thank you. I'm going to be on, like I said, Colonel Kurtz. I believe we taped that in an hour, or an hour-ish. Okay, sweet. Okay, literally, I have how many? 14 text messages that just came in. I'm like, guys, can you just like leave me alone? I'm live on the internet right now. Asked two lawyers mentioned Ryan Reynolds' dismissal was outside the scope. Yes, so we talk about that a bit in tomorrow's episode too. Yes, about what it is the not that his dismissal was outside the scope, but the things that he uses, the quotes from the book, the quotes from the TED Talk, the quotes from his podcast, where they try to frame Baldoni as a predator and use his past words against him, even though they take them out of context. That's what's out of the scope, right? Because they can only use allegations or things that are quoted from the FAC, the First Amendment complaint. They can't just take things from his book, which makes it clear that they're making these arguments and saying these things for the public, So they want the public to pick up on these things and hope that the public, reads them. They're like, oh my God, look at Justin Baldoni said this. He's totally a predator. Oh my God. So Ashley says, new rumor, Hugh Jackman is supposedly marrying Sutton Foster. Well, there we go. Got a new beard. Mel says, is it Movember? Because Hugh Jackman just secured himself a fresh beard. I follow all the Justice Warriors, Zack, Donna, Ashley, Andy, Dave, Candace, Elsie, Colonel. Yes, I love all of them. Melanie King, who was just on the show this week. Yes, I love them all. Okay, so get ready. Tomorrow's episode of the podcast is going to be wild. Grab your friends, wear your florals, get some popcorn, get yourself some wine, maybe some Betty Buzz if you feel so inclined, and get ready. It's a lot. 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 If it brings you stress, you did good deleting. It's it gets a little passionate at times. I love Dave and I love Donna. I have nothing but love and respect for both of them. But tomorrow's town hall is going to be it's going to be, I'm curious. I mean, I can confidently say, I don't know how you guys are going to sway by the end of it. Some people will maybe be on my side. Some people will maybe be on Dave's side. Some people will maybe be on Donna's side. Some people may end up hating all of us by the end of it. I truly don't know. You can never predict because I just remember what it was like when we taped it, but then to have to watch it back and see how the public is like Blake Lively. She believes that Justin Baldoni smelled her and told her that she smelled good. And then we saw the footage and we're like, oh, that's not what happened. So did you leave his friends though? I think there were some apologies that were yeah, listen, we're fine. All 3 of us are all good with each other. We're still friends. We're all good. We're all kosher. Like, everything's fine. But ugh, are there 3 different sides or just 2? Um, I think we all at different points make arguments and, like, like, plead our cases in certain things. You're gonna see it unfold. Just be ready. Just have some like, calling Hoover, have some Diet Pepsi with vodka or rum or something in it, Just have a cocky ready. I don't know I mean, the goal is to have it stream at 9 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Pacific, which is our regular live time, but, I don't know, it depends on when the editor gets me the final cut, and I have to watch it and make sure everything looks good. It's gonna be interesting. Okay. So excited, can't wait for tomorrow. Yeah, just is Town Hall a Spotify podcast or something? No, but so Friday episodes of the podcast are I'm calling them town halls because they're usually there's more than one guest. So they're more panels, right? Like I did one with Ari Jacobs and Colonel Kurtz and Donna Bowling, and then I did one with the 2 attorneys last Friday. So Fridays are always going to be panel style. I'm just calling them town halls. How do I watch town? It'll be here. It's going to stream here and on the podcast, available everywhere. So there you go. All right. I love you. Give me a follow at Just Plain Zack. Follow the podcast at No Filter with Zack. Be kind in the comments tomorrow to all 3 of us. I love Dave and Donna. So just be nice to all of us. Did you watch Donna's new podcast? She has a new one? Okay. I'm gonna go live on Colonel Kurtz's YouTube channel. So that's gonna happen in about 45 minutes. So go tune into that right now. All right. Love you. Appreciate you. Ciao. For now. Patricia says, love this new town halls you've been doing. Thank you. All right. Bye, guys. Hit the subscribe button, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. I'll do some shout outs next week.